Elections have consequences, and the record-breaking blue wave is changing who runs that building behind me tonight. Democrats will not only control what bills come to the floor, but they will have new powers, of course, to investigate the Trump White House. There are already 85 issues Dems want to probe, like Trump's ties to Russia, where Adam Schiff plans to push the White House harder than Devin Nunes did, and swampy corruption, with incoming Oversight Chair Elijah Cummings says he will root out. But Trump doesn't follow norms. We know that. What if the Trump administration just defies these new Democratic chairs? Well, that's where subpoena power comes in. And these Democrats say they will use that power if need be.
We will make sure that Matt Whitaker immediately, one of our first orders of business will be to invite him and, if necessary, to subpoena him to appear before the committee.
I've spoken to a senior Democratic source on the Ways and Means Committee who says tonight, breaking news, they do intend to request President Trump's tax returns.
I want to issue subpoenas that go to the very heart of our democracy and protecting that democracy.
So in each of those examples, forcing Whitaker to testify, getting Trump's tax returns, demanding information from Trump aides to protect democracy, the Democrats will make demands to the Trump administration. It can cooperate or it can refuse. And after refusal, well, that's where the key legal fight comes, because to enforce a subpoena, these Democratic chairs, they can't just act all on their own. They need the expected Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, to use her power on behalf of the House to sue the Trump administration to enforce these subpoenas. Now, this is key when dealing with any resistant White House. I mean, Congress, when you think about it, they can throw all the letters and subpoenas they want at a White House. But to enforce a subpoena, to deploy the prospect of criminal contempt or even jail, well, then a speaker has to deploy the House's general counsel and take it to court. The Trump White House may be target rich, but Pelosi and that counsel, look, they're not going to file 100 lawsuits over resisted subpoenas. That wouldn't even be responsible. It would certainly undercut their credibility in the federal courts in Washington and potentially the Supreme Court, where these battles can be decided. So when January comes, Pelosi and her counsel are going to be making some very big decisions about which subpoenas and which demands are worth fighting over. Russia, the Trump Organization, Trump's tax returns. And remember all those debates over Pelosi's experience? Well, these intricate battles, they're not always front page nightly news kind of stuff. This is backroom stuff. But she has done it before. And when she did it before, she won. In fact, when Pelosi was Speaker in 2008, she made history with the first order to the House counsel, who you see on your screen there, to formally sue the Bush administration on behalf of the U.S. House over, yes, defying a subpoena. Now, the conflict was something that could play out again with this administration because it involved Bush officials refusing to testify, citing executive privilege, which is something, of course, Trump has already instructed some aides to do, even when facing a Republican House on Russia. Pelosi combated that move by instructing her House counsel to sue on behalf of Congress. And the issue in that very case may also sound familiar. It involved criticism that that White House was trying to politicize the Justice Department after Bush officials mysteriously ousted 7 federal prosecutors. Dems investigated and subpoenaed to get answers, and then the Bush cover story started to fall apart.
White House officials struggled to contain the fallout from this story as it became clear that it was the White House that first suggested firing the country's top prosecutors.
And that fallout wasn't very well contained. The White House, they kept initially trying to defy the House requests that key staff testify, as Attorney General Alberto Gonzales sealed his own fate in a disastrous hearing where he claimed under oath that he couldn't remember anything.
I have no recollection of the meeting.
It's not that long ago. It was an important issue, and that's troubling to me.
Senator, I don't know that a decision was made at that meeting.
Well, how can you be sure you made the decision?
Senator, I recall making the decision I recall making the decision.
When?
Sir, I don't recall when the decision was made. I don't recall him speaking to me about that, sir.
It didn't happen, it did happen, or you don't recall. You can't remember that conversation?
Senator, I don't think that conversation happened.
It was so bad that Gonzales faced calls to resign from both parties.
I believe the best way to put this behind us is your resignation.
I urge you to re-examine your performance and for the good of the department and the good of the country, step down.
That congressional and public pressure ultimately pushed Gonzalez out.
Alberto Gonzalez leaves a Justice Department that, by his own admission, was demoralized. For the past 6 months, he's been hammered by calls for him to resign.
So that was part of a victory, but Democrats in Congress still wanted to get to the bottom of the scandal, to what really happened. So Pelosi kept up that lawsuit to enforce the subpoenas against White House officials. It was a chief of staff and White House counsel, while the White House resisted and claimed, as I mentioned, executive privilege. They said that should trump any congressional demand. So who was right? Well, this is pretty important right now. Pelosi's aggressive legal strategy took that case to court, where the House won. A federal judge ruling that the subpoena was valid. Those aides should testify that they did not have, quote, absolute immunity from Congress in the subpoena dispute, and providing something of a roadmap for House Dems if the Trump administration tries to defy their demands next year. Because Trump, well, he's not a typical president. No other president has fought this hard to hide what you see there, his tax returns. So if Democrats use the federal law empowering the House to demand his tax returns from the Treasury Department, and the secretary there defies that law and that request, well, then Dems may need Pelosi to get the House counsel to sue over it, just like her past House counsel, Irvin Nathan, led that victorious fight I've been telling you about to sue the Bush administration over those subpoenas. Hey, I'm Ari Melber from MSNBC. You can see more of our videos right here, or better yet, subscribe to our YouTube channel below. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us, and we appreciate that.